morning to the Honorable Ministers of the Council, members of the media, online viewers, radio listeners via St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM and respective radio stations island-wide. I'm Rolika Roach, and welcome to the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, September 8th, 2021. At this time, I would like to invite the Minister of Justice, the Honorable Anna Richardson, to address you. Please note, Minister Richardson will be leaving after her opening remarks. Members of the media, all questions can be sent in writing to the Minister's Cabinet. Minister Richardson, you have the floor.
Good morning, Prime Minister, colleague ministers, members of the press, Ms. Roach, and the listening and viewing public. This morning, I'd like to share some updates about the ministry. In particular, in recent days, we've all been witnessing some very negative or dark light as it relates to the prison. This has been going on for quite a number of years, but all in respect to the inmates who are at the prison. Your message is quite clear, is known, and all efforts are underway to improve the circumstances. But I'd like to be able to share a couple of updates that I think are very positive, and I want to commend those inmates who are taking advantage of opportunities that are being presented to them. Over the last few weeks, inmates at the Point Blanche Correctional Facility had the opportunity to participate in a needs assessment for the GED program, which is slated to begin really soon. Quite a number of the inmates were assessed over the past 4 days by a professional bureau, which is providing the GED program. We are now to receive the reports, and we expect those this week. Once the reports are in and they are able to identify the needs per inmate, the classes will begin, and I look forward to having some graduation ceremonies in the very near future. In addition to that, I received some photos yesterday, and we thought, along with the management of the prison, to be able to highlight the fact that I saw some very tasty pastries that were made by inmates at the prison through the guidance of Chef Giovanni Germain. And I want to say to Chef Germain and to the inmates, a job well done, congratulations. And I am extremely impressed with the dedication that the inmates and Mr. Germain has put in place here. By extension to that, the management at the prison is working diligently to reopen the sewing center. If you are aware, prior to the hurricane, the sewing room was used to provide or prepare uniforms for within justice, and we look forward to that sort of program being launched in the coming days. The tailor, Mr. Carlos Gomez, has many years of service in the prison system, teaching our inmates how to sew. He also spent quite an extensive period of time at the Curacao prison and was facilitating with having uniforms made there too. I was quite impressed, and I can share some pictures on social media of that. You know, you see the attire that they make both for within the justice system, but also even for inmates who are a part of the work program through the prison system with what we would call our vromi hair. And we are also in discussions to launch such a program here so that our inmates can also get an opportunity, as it's done in Curacao, to work. As I said earlier, I think that those are some positive aspects that are being developed and happening at the prison and was warranted to share. Lastly, I'd like to be able to recognize the first National Youth Delinquency Symposium that is currently underway. Today is the third and final day. It has been quite a number of days, and I just want to take a moment to say thank you to the Department of Interior and Kingdom Affairs, especially Angelique Gums and Ms. Yunella Jairo. Tyrone Yates, a part of that team within my cabinet, Telem, DCOM, the moderator, Ms. Lizanne Charles, all the stakeholders, quite specifically Dr. Shahini Gravels of the OECS, UNICEF, Ms. Suzette Moses Burton, Social Development within the Ministry of VSA, Ms. Rose Fleming, the youth prosecutors. I'd like to thank COG. I'd like to thank SSSD, the Miss Lally Center, the Law Enforcement Council, Dr. Judith Arndell, the education platform out of Curacao, social education out of Curacao. I'd like to thank today's presenters. That's going to be SCI Bay, the Marines of Aruba, the Youth Brigade, also our social education platform out of St. Martin. And I would like to thank the Prime Minister in advance, the Honorable Sylveria Jacobs, for being the one who will bring forward the closing remarks and bring the symposium to a close. I want to thank those online for your participation. I'd like to remind us, though, that no one institution can bring about the change that is necessary for our youth. It takes a village to raise a child. We know that within our community, we have some serious issues. I am asking once again, when it comes to these serious situations, try to remove as much criticism as possible, but think of how you can contribute positively. It's easy to sit on one end and be critical of the actions that are being taken, but it takes a real warrior and a real national to get in the game. So thank you to everyone who has committed themselves to do just that and is joining the team in one way or the other, and not just being vocal about it, but actually taking action to be a part of the positive change. I just want to say thank you to everyone for this opportunity, and I look forward to continuing to serve my country. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Richardson, for your opening remarks. At this time, I would like to invite the Minister of Public Health, Social Development and Labor, the Honorable Omar Otley, to address you. Minister Otley, you have the floor.
Thank you, Relaika. Good morning to the members of the media, my honorable colleagues, the viewing and listening public. Today, I'll start with the COVID update. As of today, we had 3,888 confirmed cases from the start of COVID. We are averaging 20 to 25 cases per day. Still too much if you ask me, but I'm happy that this is a decrease from the previous weeks of 40 to 45 cases per day. Unfortunately, we have had 57 deaths due to the COVID-19. For the month of September, we have had 4 deaths recorded. It's only the 7th of September or the 8th. On another note, I would like to thank everyone that participated and is willing to participate in the Share Your COVID experience. Many persons have seen a video of persons in the community sharing their COVID experience with hopes that persons realize that COVID is real, the experience is real, and unfortunately, there are some testimonies where their partners, their loved ones, their mothers, their fathers, whoever it may be, did not make it or survive COVID. So we hope that these stories from persons like you, the community, can influence you to not only get vaccinated, but do your part, follow your protocols, and keep safe. I would like to touch on some reports that was presented to me by CPS. Many persons are breaking quarantine. When they are asked to quarantine for 14 days in CPS call, they would be at work or around persons. And all of this contributes towards the spread. All of this contributes towards deaths. And if we are trying to get COVID under control, we each have to do our part. There are also some employers that are calling their employees back to work early, and this is unacceptable. To the point where the employers actually call CPS and say, hey, this person can't be out for 14 days, I need them. That's unacceptable. You are basically, can be an accomplice to murder. That is the truth, because you might survive, but the person you pass it on to might not. Let us all do our part. It's just 14 days. Trust me, staying home can save a life. On another note, the next pop-up, I'm happy to announce that the next pop-up will be on Saturday, September 11th. The pop-up will be at the CPS, at the Vineyard Building. I'm also happy to announce that If you can see, Flo has joined us in participating in the pop-up, and so did Domino's Pizza. So persons that get vaccinated can receive a phone card or phone chip complimentary of Flo, and will also receive a pizza complimentary of Domino's. We thank Domino's and Flo for reaching out, being a part of the solution, and helping us to get rid of this problem. I encourage everyone to come out this Saturday. That's 8 to 3 p.m. at the Vineyard Building. Mask required. There will be social distancing. Protocols are in place. Come out. I encourage all parents, please, with kids 12 and older, to bring your kids, get them vaccinated. We are trying to contain the spread within the schools. The Ministry of VSA, in collaboration with the Minister of Education, doing a very good job. As you can see, yes, the numbers are going up, but out of 7,000 plus students. So we are still containing it very well. So we are asking you to bring your kids, get them vaccinated. Those that do not believe in the vaccination, we can also ask you to come. There's an information session where we can sit, we can talk. There will be Bush D, there will be talks of herbal medicine, whatever it may be. Let us conversate. We are tired of fighting. We're not looking to fight. Let's have a conversation. Let's understand each other, and let's work together to save St. Martin. That is the ultimate goal, save St. Martin. Thank you. I look forward to any other questions from the media.
Thank you, Minister Otley. At this time, I would like to invite the Minister of Education, Culture, Youth, and Sport, the Honorable Dr. Anders Rudolph Samuel, to address you. Minister Samuel, you have the floor.
Thank you, Rolaika. Good morning to you. Good morning to DCOM. Good morning to those on the media. Good morning, PM and my colleagues. Good morning to the people of St. Martin. For 2021, the International Literacy Day is being celebrated under the theme, Literacy for a Human-Centered Recovery, Narrowing the Digital Divide. September 8th was declared by UNESCO on October 26, 1966, at the 14th session of UNESCO General Conference as International Literacy Day. This year, UNESCO wanted to shed light on how COVID-19 crisis has disrupted the learning of children, young people, and adults at an unprecedented scale. From the data collected, UNESCO concluded that COVID-19 has magnified the pre-existing inequalities in access to meaningful literacy learning opportunities, disproportionately affecting 773 million non-literate young people and adults. The rapid shift to distance learning, UNESCO determined, has resulted in a digital divide in terms of connectivity, infrastructure, and the ability to engage with technology, as well as disparities in other services such as electricity, which has limited learning options. UNESCO therefore reminding its member states and associate members, which St. Martin is an associate member, of the critical importance of literacy and its significance of empowering individuals and improving their lives by expanding their capabilities to choose the kind of life they can value. UNESCO considers literacy to be the driver for sustainable development, an integral part of education and lifelong learning. Sustainable Development Goal 4 and is central to a human-centered recovery from the COVID-19 crisis. As Minister of Education, Culture, and Sports, I agree with the statement of UNESCO that we must narrow the digital divide and continue to ensure that all students have access to devices, connectivity, and services that will ensure that the learning process is continued uninterrupted when reverting to distance learning is necessary due to COVID-19 pandemic. To commemorate International Literacy Day 2021, a number of social clubs, organizations, and schools have and will be organizing virtual reading events and face-to-face literacy activities. I would like to acknowledge the United Women Book Club and author Robin Boseman on the reading of her book, Lazy Lizard, at the Emilia Wilson Park over the weekend in light of International Literacy Day. The Phillipsburg Jubilee Library on its virtual storytelling sessions, which can be viewed on its Facebook page. A Book a Day initiative by the Rotary Club of St. Martin Sunset. Reading at various elementary schools during the month of September, the reading to children at daycare centers, which is being planned by Rotary Club of St. Martin Sunrise. And today, I too will be giving a presentation at the Rotary Club of St. Martin for the International Literacy Day. Happy International Literacy Day. It is said that if those who can read don't read, they are no better than those who cannot. I would also like to bring the following to the attention of the general public. The online registration has been extended for the register to ride on the school bus service of government until September 30th, 2021. I would like to encourage all parents and students who have not yet registered for the school busing service to please do so. If you have not uploaded all the necessary documentation or was lacking information, you can also make adjustments with your registration number. Please go to www.stmartingov.org/register and ride to complete your registration. For those parents who have had challenges completing the form, we created an infomercial video with a step-by-step guide explaining the details of the completion of the registration form. This video, you can find it on all the government media sites. And finally, for today, I would like to inform that for Literacy Month, the Division of Public Education will be showcasing literacy within the various classes at the 7 public schools. The general objective is to ensure that students see the connections of literacy to their lives. All aspects of literacy, reading, writing, speaking, and listening are important, and these skills are integrated into every subject area at school. The goal is to promote literacy through the love of reading within our schools so that our students not only become better readers, but also better writers, listeners, and speakers. This will help our students to effectively communicate with others now and later as adults. The schools have planned literacy activities that focus on all areas of literacy, not just reading and writing, but also listening and speaking as well. These activities include the school day will begin with DARE, drop everything and read. This means that everyone at the school, including staff, have to drop what they are doing and read at least 15 minutes a day. Persons within the community will be invited to come to the schools to read aloud a story to the students. Parents are also invited to come into their child or children's school to read as well. The other students will read to the younger students. The staff, including management, will read to the students in their respective schools. Role-playing and oral storytelling will be included to promote literacy. Persons within the community or students themselves will engage in this activity. The students and teachers will be encouraged to share the pen and create stories, poems, and chants. These too will be read to the class or to the classes within the schools. These are just a few of the literacy activities that are planned for the month of September. There are other planned activities that schools will be executing during the month of the year upcoming. I thank you.
Thank you, Minister Samuel, for your opening remarks. At this time, I would like to invite the Minister of Public Housing, Spatial Planning, Environment, and Infrastructure, the Honorable Egbert Duran, to address you. Minister Duran, you have the floor.
Thank you, Roleka. Good morning, Prime Minister, colleague ministers, members of the media, and a special good morning to the people of St. Martin. Today, I have two brief updates for you. I'll start with the improved building codes. It is with great pleasure I would like to announce that the building codes and technical norms are being updated. Hurricanes Irma and Maria in 2017 was a wake-up call to the manner in which we have been building. The building codes need to be reviewed to ensure our new and/or existing buildings are built more resilient against future natural disasters. It is noteworthy to mention that the building ordinance has not been updated since its conception in 1935. The Building Back Better program began in early 2018, which involved several stakeholder consultations. The key aspect within the updated regulations included accessibility requirements for the disabled for public buildings, for example, ramps or wheelchair accessibility, and the width of doors. Once this project has been fully approved in the coming weeks, this will be published. Several communications and trainings will take place for all the stakeholders involved to introduce the new building and technical norms to enable a smooth transition during this phase. I would like to also announce that yesterday I signed off the advice for the said update in the building code, so therefore it is well on its way to finalization. On another note, I would like to give an update regarding the road paving program. The ministry recently resumed efforts with the road repair program of the main road network, which focus on the most critical areas. Thus far, the areas have been executed are Kupakoy, Airport Road, Colby, and Simpson Bay. I understand that it is understood that the intersection at the Holderby Richardson Road, Miller Region, has been a long-standing issue and a nuisance to many drivers. I'm pleased to announce that during the late hours last night, this area has been fully repaired as the core issues was addressed prior to the repairs. Once this project was fully as the works are currently taking place in the Soccer Garden area, I urge the general public to adhere to the signs and provisions to drive with caution and try to minimize traffic hindrance. The road network repair program is reflective of the ministry's goal and responsibility to provision of better infrastructure for all the residents of St. Martin to improve also the experience of those that are visiting us. With that being said, I would hereby like to conclude, and I look forward to any questions members of the media might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Duran, for your opening remarks. At this time, I would like to invite the Minister of Finance, the Honorable Artwell Edion, to address you. Minister Edion, you have the floor.
Good morning, Roleka. Good morning to the Prime Minister, the Honorable Council of Ministers, the media, and to all the viewing public. First, I'd like to start off with payroll support. Payroll support for August and September is open and closes on September 30th. In addition to that, we've announced yesterday that we will be discontinuing checks as of December 1st and the checks for Banco de Caribe as of October 16th. I also had a discussion with the director of SFE prior to doing this, and they've also indicated that as SFE starts to automate and want to provide better service to their customers and healthcare providers, they've also decided to stop their checks, discontinue their checks by December 1st. By doing this, they also plan to become more paperless as possible, also to be able to cut costs and improve their customer service. In regards to, I saw an article the other day from the CFD, I believe, in regards to the funds of SFE and the debt to GDP ratio 75%. One thing that they conveniently left out was the fact that the IMF report also stated that that the Netherlands should cancel the debt, the liquidity support debt in 2022. This would then significantly reduce our debt to GDP ratio for next year. So I look forward to seeing that in your report and the advice to NMR I see, like I mentioned, I realized they left that out, so I want to remind them of that part so that they can include it in their report for Edamer. In addition to that, the reality is that we've had some discussions about our loans. The reality is that we've had 207 million guilders worth of loans and liquidity support since the pandemic. More than 70 million guilders went to SRP. So that I would like the general public to understand this is the loans that the government took that we have to pay back, that we gave out to the business sector, to the unemployed, to be able to go through this pandemic. That is not something that is feasible to do long term, as already indicated by the CFT in their report and our debt to GDP ratio already. So I would like us to keep this in mind going forward. Also, in addition to that, and discussing the SAV funds and so forth, I think that as the media, we have the media here today, what I would like to see is more reports about how did we get here today. You know, when I see articles about our current debt, a debt that this government is addressing, and the issues with the SAV fund and so forth, what would be interesting to know, especially to the public, is how we got here today. And that's by lack of decision making in the past. For example, we pay SAV about 3.8 million guilders a month, which is about 700,000 guilders too little, and we've been doing this for years. This government has made a decision to stop the bleeding, and we've now started to pay the amount that we have to pay dealing with OZR. That was just decision making. In regards to, and again, these are all touchy subjects and areas at times, but it's also the reality. The civil servants' contribution legally, as civil servants, we were supposed to contribute 10% to the funds, which government has been covering for the last 10 years or more, for sure the last 10 years. This also increased our debt to SAV over the last 10 years, and no one addressed this for political reasons or the sensitivity of it. But at the end of the day, because it was not addressed, we've reached to this point. Luckily, though, this government is addressing that. Between the Council of Ministers, we've looked for different solutions to be able to fill this gap, stop the bleeding, and be able to lower the debt going forward. When we look at the financial statements, we had a comment about this last week also. Again, that was not done by this government, because we're talking about 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019 financial statements that this government now has to do within 2 years, right? Which is a task that we are doing and we will complete. We are hoping to have an up-to-date, all our financial statements up to date by next year. So up to date by 2020. Again, this was 2022, sorry. Again, this means this is a task then that this government has to go back and fix of the last few years, in addition to dealing with COVID, in addition to dealing with our current financial statements and liquidity issues. But a task that we didn't run from, a task that we will complete in the next year. There's a comment about AirPac that was made last week by myself. And yes, I would like to go over that again. But one part I left out last week is that businesses, private fund foundations, you are not left out. You are also going to be looked at. There are a lot of long lease land and private entities that haven't been contributing for the last few years. And as I mentioned before, we have put our small team together between the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Rummy that will be looking at all of these companies and areas where for the longest while now have not been contributing to the AirPac. So we want to make sure that everyone is paying their fair share, and this process starts this week. Before I end, and this is mainly in the area of VSR health, but at the end of the day, we are going through a pandemic together. And I realize that the anti-vax voice is very loud out there, and I don't believe that those of us that are vaccinated should shy away from the true facts and the evidence and so forth. And in that regard, yes, immunity. If you do get COVID-19, you do build up immunity towards the COVID-19. But that doesn't mean that someone should not get vaccinated. There are real life stories on the island of persons that have gotten COVID-19, and the effects of what you call long COVID or long COVID effects are real. I was speaking to someone just last week that had COVID early this year, and even though they are recovered and they have since then been vaccinated, sometimes they still can't smell certain foods, all right? The energy that they have to cycle, to run, and so forth is no longer there. I also know of someone that, and they lost their sense of taste and smell. And as it returned, it switched basically. So things that were once smelling good now smell bad, and things that smell bad now smell good. These are people that I personally know. So the effects of COVID and long COVID is not just death, it's not just being sick in a moment, but there are long-term effects of COVID also that I think that we don't discuss enough. In addition to that, I know the minister has mentioned this in the past. Yes, eating healthy, cycling, eating healthy, drinking water, bush tea, and so forth, they all contribute to a healthier lifestyle in general, right? But let's be honest. There is a report, I believe, from 2015 with how healthy is St. Martin. That's before COVID. They already stated the health of our island. We're not going to get healthy drinking bush tea in a week. We're not going to get healthy drinking bush tea in 2 weeks. All right? So there's a park that was just done by Emilia Wilson Park. I know we had some friends that went there this week. It wasn't much fuller than previously. So the arguments of eat healthier, exercise, and so forth, they don't got to take the vaccine, but the reality is we're not doing that anyway, or you're not doing that anyway. So don't risk something. You can't have the argument of living healthier if you're not living healthier. With that being said, I do believe that we, and I know the minister is doing this, promoting more health in general, not just for COVID. Drink your water, eat healthy, and so forth. Of course, that also helps. In addition to that, I must say the Minister of Health leads by example. I always tell him this. He comes to council of ministers. He doesn't drink soda as much. He drinks water. He works out. So we have a Minister of Health that is vaccinated and leads by example. I'd like to end by saying in 2 months we have the St. Martin relay race. And I told the minister about it. So the minister will be joining me on St. Martin the relay race. So we have 2 months to train. I don't know if we're going to do separate teams or you're going to join my team since But I also encourage everyone on the island to maybe, you don't have to compete in the relay race if you don't want to, but you could compete for fun. It could also be a challenge for you to go on that healthier road for the next 2 months during this pandemic. And it's always a good time. That'll be all, Relaika.
Thank you, Minister Edion, for your opening remarks and challenging Minister Otley for St. Martin's Day relay race. At this time, I would like to invite the Prime Minister and Minister of General Affairs, the Honorable Severia Jacobs, to address you. Prime Minister Jacobs, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Relaika. Good morning, colleague ministers. Good morning, members of the press. To you, of course, Ms. Roach, and the listening and viewing public, thank you so much for joining us. It is, I must say, a commitment for us to be here every Wednesday. And I'm happy that, of course, you as media are present, as well as the public tuning in to be updated by this government. I must say, I'm very proud, before I go into my prepared statements, to listen to the various ministers, update the public, and hear the passion with which they are executing this work. And I want to thank them for us all standing together, united, because as a strong fist, we can always execute more. We've come into a situation that has been deeply struck with financial and economic problems and facing the COVID situation. No other government has faced this, but we have also come in with opportunities, and the opportunities with the trust fund availability and with the assistance we get to be able to maintain the health protocols that we've put in place have helped us to be here today. So I just wanted to say that as an introduction and then go into my updates. As some may already know, but I'd like to highlight here in this press briefing that our fire department were the recipients of 3 new custom-made fire trucks. This has been discussed for a while. Since coming in, we've learned that this was on the plan of the trust fund. So with the assistance, of course, of the fund, all the hard work of the fire department, it's the colleagues at NRPB, of course, the steering committee to have approved it in the first place. These vehicles were designed to the St. Martin specifications. They are smaller, shorter, but higher in height than the 2 large ones that we currently had that have been in hard, let's say, service for the past 5 to 6 years without a break. So now that these brand new trucks are here, outfitted with the latest equipment, training has commenced for the firefighters, and we expect that St. Martin will continue to be prepared for all types of disasters. The truck is equipped for everything, and I congratulate them on this achievement. Of course, there are still other things to be received, but in the meantime, they've received the much-needed trucks and other equipment, and we look forward to finalizing the building itself, what still needs to be finalized for the building of fire department and the ambulance department. Also during that ceremony, the fire department commemorated 3 former firefighters. One still alive, which is great, former Fire Chief Winston Solomon, and 2 others deceased, Hilton G. Wilson and Godfrey Golly Brooks. The families of the 2 deceased firefighters were on hand together with former Fire Chief Winston Solomon to unveil the names of those 3 persons that are emblazoned on the trucks. So all 3 trucks, whenever you see it pass by, you will see vertically on the driver's side the name of an honored firefighter. And I believe the initiative coming from the fire department, from its ranks to honor their own, is a very commendable one. And I look forward to them even promoting it more via DCOM so that the general public can know who they are and what they have done, how many years they've served, etc. So congratulations to them as well. And we look forward to receiving further, roll out of the trust fund projects. I'd also like to take this time to encourage all legal advisors and others with at least habeo upleiding, with an interest in law, to follow and register for the online certified legislative lawyer course by the University of Curacao, the St. Martin Division, by September 10th. That is this week. By Friday, email CCL, capital letter CCL at uoc.cw to be able to register. The registration is open for civil servants, lawyers, staff of the higher councils, and persons with a legal background. And this course lasts for 1 year and consists of 5 modules: deepening constitutional and administrative law, general law doctrines, legislative engineering, clinical legislation, and in-depth constitutional and administrative law. This will, of course, help us to build the needed capacity that we need, because a lot of the changes that we have been crying for over the years actually require several changes in laws, and it has just been a serious capacity issue. So I'm encouraging all those who may have had a secret wish to be more active in this area, go to the online, the registration that I mentioned, CCL at uoc.cw, to register today. Many have been also asking about what happened in the Kingdom Council of Ministers meeting last Friday. On Friday, September 8th, the Kingdom Council of Ministers held its monthly meeting, whereby the amended draft consensus kingdom law was on the agenda for approval. Prior to this, and in various updates that I've given via this medium and in Parliament, St. Martin, Curacao, and Aruba, after long technical discussions, came to a political agreement to continue with the amended version. This was brought to the various countries' Council of Ministers for approval before going on to the Kingdom Council of Ministers meeting of last Friday. However, as you know, there was a bit of a glitch during the meeting. It was postponed due to different wishes at that time being expressed to have the entire law go back to the Council of State. The normal trajectory is that it would then be able to go to the parliaments. However, based on the fact that certain amendments were made that were not necessarily advised by the Kingdom Council of State, there is what we call a note of an aanwijzing, from wijziging, amendments, a notice of amendment. And that portion is being sent to the Kingdom Council of State as per our agreements. And in the end, even Curaçao agreed to move forward with this trajectory, as we have all done, as after it has received the advice of the Council of State on that portion, then the entire law with amendment will go with separate wijziging, will go to all the parliaments in the kingdom. At this point, all of the parliaments will get all of the documentation that have been provided, all of the amendments, all of the advices, and the decision will then be made finally as to the implementation of this kingdom law. The hurricane season we are in the peak of it. Usually in this week, over the past years, we've had very terrible storms. Last Sunday and Monday marked the anniversary of the last two major storms that hit us. The 4th anniversary of Irma and the 26th anniversary of Luis subsequently. And we must say that we are blessed to, at this point in the season, not have been touched. And we pray that this will continue. But of course, as disaster management, the leader in that, I am asking all to remain vigilant and to continue to be prepared. Being prepared is half of the work. Of course, once it hits, we deal with what happens. And we've seen around the world how these major hurricanes are devastating even well-developed countries. So let us not get complacent, continue to move forward with that. Lastly, I want to touch on the COVID-19 situation and our situation of health. I'm happy to see that all of the ministers have touched on it. Before that, I also want to congratulate all on International Literacy Day and encourage people of St. Martin, as I have since I was a teacher, an educator, and I'm still an educator, and also as Minister of Education at the time, encourage volunteering. Those of you with an extra hour per week, please go out to our schools, daycares, after schools, and even to the elderly and the elderly programs, and give an hour, give 2 hours, whether you like sport, or whether you like reading, or whether you like art, whatever your thing is. Bring it to the community, because the moment of volunteering, of giving of yourself, gives you such a feeling that you are part of the process to make St. Martin better. I also heard the Minister of Justice's cry that we all need to work together, and I encourage us all. We can all be the best complainers in the world, but how will that have helped us? Where we were to where we are improving, but in other areas, of course, we need to do a lot more. So let's get together and do that. And I look forward to us being able to come together at CPS's pop-up. I commend the Minister of VSA, CPS, St. Martin Medical Center, the VMT, the ambulance services, all of the doctors and nurses in the private practices, the pharmacies and the labs, all our medical health professionals, and of course, SZV, for all your efforts to help us to increase the vaccination rate and keep the population safe. I'm very happy that people are coming forward with their stories, because this will move more people, I am sure. So listen carefully, listen to the information sessions, also being prepared, and come with an open mind, because really weigh the effects and the risk of your health with and without taking the vaccine. Regardless to whether you take it though, please maintain a high level of our protocols, because we are doing much more enforcing. A lot of people are saying that's because we don't enforce, but I am seeing that at a certain moment, we as the people of St. Martin need to be more disciplined. I'm seeing it in the way we are driving, the way we're using the roads, the way we're throwing garbage in the streets. Just because someone is being paid to pick it up, that is a lack of discipline. We need to work on that. And as leader of government, I feel it's my role to encourage us to be the best we can be, not just for ourselves, but for the entire St. Martin community. Thank you, Ms. Roach. Thank you, people of St. Martin.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs, for your opening remarks. If you've just joined us, you are watching the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, September 8th, 2021. Thank you for joining us. We now move on to the question and answer session, and I would like to inform members of the media we will only have one round of questions as we are running out of time. I would like to invite Bibi Hart Shaw of SMN News. You have the floor.
Good morning, Rolika. Thank you. Good morning, ministers, colleagues. Minister Doran, can you give us an update and shed some light, if there is any, regarding GEBE, the board? You had a report from the Corporate Governance Council regarding the 6 members. Where are we with the installation of the new board and also the management team?
Good morning again. Thank you, Bibi, for your question. In regards to the appointment of new members, as you know, at the moment, given the fact that I believe we are down now to 2 members that are currently on the board, so there's a need to fill those 5 vacancies. So a meeting request will be sent out this week to convoke the meeting to install the new members to fill the board. So to install 5 members. With respect to the appointment of the new managing board, that is also ongoing, and they're in discussions with the respective individuals. I haven't received any recent update as to the state of affairs of that negotiation, but I know for a fact that it is ongoing because I see communications going back and forth.
Thank you, Minister.
Nevertheless, it will be handled very soon.
Thank you, Minister Duran, and thank you, Bibi, for the question. I would now like to invite Rav Kantab of Phillipsburg Broadcasting. You have the floor.
Thank you, Ms. Roach. I have a question for the Minister of VSA. This is a follow-up on your opening statement regarding persons breaking quarantine and so forth. So given the fact that I can imagine that it's a lot of people that CPS has to follow up with, what is there to at least try to curb whether it's businesses or individuals from breaking their quarantine, and what would be the outcome if a person is caught doing so?
Well, thank you. This discussion was already had, and basically CPS would now report to the minister. The minister would then create an MBA instructing the person to be quarantined, where the inspectorate or the police department, because it's either those two are allowed to do it, would then put in a PV to the prosecutor's office if the person breaks the quarantine, and then a penalty would be administered. So that is definitely in the process. The inspectorate is aware. So now the conversation with CPS was had last week. So moving forward, that's how we would handle it. Persons that break quarantine, they will be reported, and from then, if they'll be instructed to quarantine by MBA, and then if they violate, the inspectorate will put in the report to the prosecutor's office, and then action will be taken from there.
Thank you, Minister Otley, and thank you, Ralph, for the question. I would now like to invite Stephen Cerulean of PJ82 Radio. You have the floor.
Thank you, Ms. Roach. Good morning to you, Prime Minister, ministers. Good morning to you as well. My question this morning is for the Prime Minister. Now that the coup has been handled in the Council of Ministers and sent to the Council of Advice for Advice Minister, how soon is it projected to see that document being sent to Parliament for discussion?
Thank you for the question, Stephen. So the trajectory is that not that it went to the Council of Advice, it went to the Council of State, the Kingdom Council of State, and it's not the entire law. It's only the note of aanwijziging. Once that has been advised upon and the Kingdom Council of Ministers asked for a spoedadvies, so an urgent advice, I don't know the timeline for that, but once that has been rendered, then it will be forwarded to all parliaments. Also, we had forwarded the Kingdom Law to our Council of Advice, as did the other countries. We'd gotten an urgent advice as well, but they weren't able, in their advice, they mentioned that they weren't able to give an in-depth review. So we are preparing a request for them to do a more in-depth review and include also the note of aanwijziging. So we will get that, the parliaments will get that, and so all of the information should be ready by the time the Raad van State is finished with its review. I don't have a date.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs, and thank you, Stephen, for the question. I would now like to invite Lyndon Brown of BCN TV. You have the floor.
Good morning to the people of St. Martin and the ministers that are present here today. Question to the Minister of Health. Minister of Health, the word today is cluster. Minister, in your view, is it looking like the COVID will be going away anytime soon? It is visible, Minister, that in all aspects and areas in St. Martin, there are cluster. House party after 11 o'clock, Minister, is still going on, Minister. We are seeing cluster, and it have been mentioned by health analysis that cluster is one of the main reasons for the escalation of the virus. Minister, what can you tell us on that basis?
Good morning, Mr. Brown. Cluster is not the main reason. Cluster is when there are positive cases within an establishment, a place, or business. So the cluster is created by the virus. Mass gathering or human contact cause the virus. Right now, most of the clusters is in the environment. The virus is so widespread that the communities, the businesses that we are seeing, we're not only seeing some cases in the night, we're seeing a lot of cases in the workplace. Hence the reason that there's a zero tolerance protocol by the inspectorate doing daytime inspections to make sure businesses in the day are also compliant, and not only to focus on nightlife, because nightlife is not the only place where the virus is transmitted. So it's about protocol. It's about doing your part.
Thank you, Minister Otley, and thank you, Lyndon, for the question. Members of the media, viewing and listening public, this does bring us to the end of the question and answer sessions. Any further questions can be sent to the Minister's Cabinet directly in writing. Honorable Ministers of the Council, members of the media, radio listeners, and online viewers, this brings us to the end of the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, September 8th, 2021. For rebroadcast, tune in to St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM, the official Facebook page of the Government of St. Martin, the YouTube channel Government of St. Martin, and St. Martin Cable TV channel 115. For video on demand, log on to the Government of St. Martin's YouTube channel. On behalf of the Government of St. Martin and the Department of Communication, I'm Rolika Roach, and wishing you a pleasant day further.